Hello, everybody. Good to see you.
Hello, happy Thursday
Happy
to each
Thursday
of
to you.
you.
I hope you guys are
Hello.
having an amazing day. We are here. We were supposed to be here last Thursday, but it was actually my wife's birthday, and
Yay!
she celebrated 22 years, right? 23, 24 years?
21.
21
21
years.
years.
Yeah, so it's good to be here. And everybody got a little confused because I was saying it was your birthday, and I was telling them this was the pre-birthday celebration. They thought we were actually celebrating the birthday right then, but we were not. It was just like the pre.
The pre to the
So
pre.
it was the pre to the pre,
The pre
in
to the
which we
pre.
did a lot of different things over uh, last week and stuff.
Yeah, it was a really great time.
I had a really good time.
It was a good time.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Take this minute now to like this video and share it. We're trying to grow our YouTube station by 500 subscribers by the end of the year. We're really close to that goal. You can help us get to that goal by simply sharing the content. If it's been a blessing to you, you like what we're doing, just share it and tell people about it. Get the word out. That's we're just trying to grow our media stations.
Yeah, we want to get the word out.
Way that we can really actually grow it. Right now, we are on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and we're on Twitter. We're not on the gram yet, right?
Not on the gram.
Not on the gram, but we want to get. But right now, we're just trying to maximize those. So if this content is a blessing to you, you can help us by sharing that. We got a powerful word for you on today. Something that that a lot of people don't understand the definition of, and they don't understand it's destroying marriages, it's destroying homes. This one word called complacency, but I call it a silent killer because you don't see when it's coming. You don't know when it's coming. It can sneak up on you at any moment, and it could just sneak up on you at any time.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, that's the whole thing about being complacent. Being complacent is it's kind of like you're just disconnected. Right. You're not putting forth the energy, the effort. You're like just kind of going with the flow.
Right.
But the flow can go any kind of way.
And we were ministering on this earlier, and I was explaining that there is a difference between being content and being complacent. The Bible says, whatever state I find myself in, I find myself therefore content. But he don't want you to be complacent. Can you tell me what you said when you said the difference in those two words?
When you really think about it, being content has to do with your attitude, right? It has to do with your attitude, where complacency to me has more to do with your behavior. So content is, whatever situation that I'm in, I'm going to have the right attitude. I'm going to have the right mindset. I'm going to make sure that I'm looking at it the right way. Whereas being complacent it's almost like you're not trying to put forth the effort, the energy, the actions to get you to another place.
Pastor Michael D. Moore, he has a powerful teaching out there, and it's called Status Quo Living, and it's called the rocking chair of death. And that's how we want you to kind of look at complacency, as being status quo. And it's a very dangerous place to be in marriage. It's a very dangerous place to be in marriage. But we probably need to do some kind of similar status quo marriages, the rocking chair of death. That may be copyright, right?
You might as well.
Well, they say
the biggest compliment
is plagiarism. The biggest compliment is plagiarism.
But don't plagiarize.
So what is complacency? Do you know what complacency means?
Textbook definition?
No, I know textbook. You know what the textbook definition means?
I can't say that I can quote the textbook definition. I'm not going to say that I can do that.
And I was kind of like that as well. I could identify with what the word meant, but I didn't know the details of what it actually means. And that's what we're going to start the lesson at, with a textbook definition, and we're going to kind of pull it apart and talk about it. But if you look at it, it says complacency is self-satisfaction, especially when accompanied by unawareness of actual dangers or deficiencies.
You disconnected.
Exactly.
You're just disconnected.
Right.
I had this. I was just sitting here thinking, visualizing when you said that rocking chair. And if anybody's ever had a rocking chair, you can go slow, but there are some rocking chairs. I remember we had one more like a swing, and you can just like you're moving.
Right.
Like you're moving, but you're really not going away. You're doing a lot of stuff.
It's old school.
You're doing a lot of stuff. But you're not going nowhere.
Exactly.
You're fooling yourself.
Right.
it seems like you're doing something, but you're not.
Coach Richard Freeman, he's my boss at Morehouse College. He has a quote. I mean, he was talking a couple of years ago. We were talking in his office, and he said, familiarity, that's the word, familiarity breeds complacency.
Mm-hmm.
Familiarity breeds complacency. And he was talking about he wasn't correcting me. We were just having a conversation. And he was talking about how sometimes you can be so familiar that you become complacent in the workplace. And you strive to not go any further. But in a marriage, you should be familiar.
Well, yeah, in a marriage, you should know each other.
Right.
But you shouldn't be complacent.
You should know each other. You should be close. Kim and I, we teach a series on when leave, weave, cleave. And we talk about that when you become joined, husband and wife become joined, you're no more two, but you're one flesh. And the Bible says that he left and he became naked before each other and they were not ashamed. Mm-hmm. And so what the Lord revealed to me in that text is what that text is saying. It's dealing with being vulnerable. And your spouse, your husband, your wife, you should be the most vulnerable with them, mm-hmm. right? So you want to be familiar, you want to be vulnerable, but how can, we said familiarity breeds complacency, right? We want to be familiar in mm-hmm. a marriage, but how is it that you think, just by your opinion, how do you think complacency can kill a marriage?
I believe complacency can kill a marriage because just like everything else in life, you're never at the same place.
Right.
Marriages grow, seasons change. You have a season when you have small kids, you have a season when you're starting your career, older kids, parents, that seasons in your life change. And if you try to address or approach every season the same without recognizing the uniqueness of that season and what changes or adjustments are needed for that season, you're going to struggle.
Right.
You're going to have a problem. And so if you're complacent and you're doing what you did when you had no kids, or you're doing what you did and all the kids are gone, and what you did when you had kids and out, it's just not the same. Mm-hmm. You have to be sensitive to the changes that are going on in the lives of your spouse, in the life of your spouse, and what's going on in your marriage.
And I was talking about that earlier tonight when I said my wife gave me one of the biggest compliments I think I've gotten in our 24 mm-hmm. years of marriage. She told me the other day, Monday was her birthday and she had so much fun. And so when she got up, she woke up Tuesday morning, she had so much fun, she just fell asleep downstairs, collapsed and fell asleep downstairs. She got up the next morning, she came upstairs and she said, I was sad when I woke up. I was like, why are you sad? She said, because I had so much fun on my birthday, I hated it was over. That was an amazing compliment. So what I'm mm-hmm. saying with that is when we're talking about dealing with complacency, my wife said marriages are at different phases, different things. If you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, if I would did the same thing we first met and I did it for your birthday, your expectation grows. And a lot of times in marriage, we're so complacent, we don't match the expectation. Marriages have a different season, you have a different level of expectation. Mm-hmm. And so when you don't match that level of expectation, you can become complacent.
Yeah, I think level of expectation, or as people grow and mature, you have different needs.
Right.
There's a different need. When we first got married, I was in my early 20s, probably, energy just bouncing like a little Energizer bunny. What I needed then is a little bit different than what I need now that I'm a little bit more seasoned.
Right.
And so people's needs change. And if you don't recognize that change, you're setting yourself up for problems.
So the definition says self-satisfied to the point you become unaware of dangers, and you become so self-satisfied, you become unaware of deficiencies. Mm. Isn't that amazing? Now that is the most powerful part of the definition. You become so satisfied, you're not even aware of the dangers or the deficiencies.
Wow.
And that's very dangerous. You become so complacent, so comfortable, you feel like you don't have to do anything else. And the reason you're not aware of the dangers is because you're trapped in complacency. Mm-hmm. You become too familiar that you trap to complacency. You feel like you don't have to impress. your spouse anymore. You feel like you don't have to give a compliment anymore. You feel like you don't have to say encouraging words to your spouse anymore. You feel like you don't have to sit up and do pillow talk anymore. You become just so relaxed, so mundane, so complacent. There is no growth. That's why these seminars are so important. That's why these videos are so important, so that you can come on and you can learn and you can grow. You should never get so complacent where you don't want to grow.
Exactly.
Anymore.
And you should never assume that you know everything, or like I was saying, there are times we've all heard that. You've heard people say, I've heard that message before, but it did something for me today. When you're at different stages in your life, different things will hit you differently. You'll hear something that you didn't hear before. So you should always be feeding yourself, feeding your marriage, getting information, because as you go through these different stages and different phases, you can glean something new that maybe you didn't catch before.
Right.
Because there wasn't a need when you were 20. But now that you're 45, there's a need.
Right. And here's the thing I want you to get right here. It says you become self-satisfied where you become unaware of the dangers. You become self-satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
You become unaware of deficiencies. Listen to this. This is very important right here. The reason it is so important that you become aware and not be unaware is because the Bible says you have an adversary.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible says he's seeking whom he may devour. While you are becoming complacent and you feel like you don't have to do certain things, you become so comfortable, you become so relaxed, so mundane,
Mm-hmm.
you become unaware of the danger that's around you. You become unaware of what's going on around you. And the enemy, he's watching and he's studying. He's studying your marriage. He's studying the amount of times that you did not give your wife a compliment. He's studying the amount of times that you had an attitude with your husband. He's studying. He's constantly watching that door. And you have to be very vigilant. That's why he said in the first, we always focus on the second verse when it says your adversary is there. He's seeking whom he may devour, right? He's seeking, he's watching, he's constantly watching, pacing. If you ever watched the lion when he was in the cage?
Mm-hmm.
When the lion's in the cage, he paces back and forth.
Wow.
Pacing, he's pacing back and forth. And while you are just going through the mundane and the motions of marriage, and you're not trying to hold on and try to and feed and fertilize and till the ground of your marriage, while you're not doing that, the enemy is sitting there, he's watching. And he's watching and he's orchestrating situations to cause you to fall.
Wow.
Now, here's the dangers. It says you become unaware of dangers and you become unaware of deficiencies, right? You become unaware of them. Here's what happens most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The enemy will plant a trap, right?
Okay.
You may not fall the first time. Oh, right? The compliment, right? Your spouse ain't gave you a compliment in 6 months. But all of a sudden you walk by somebody's cubicle or you walk by somebody's door and they say, oh, you looking nice today. It didn't mean nothing to you right then. But see, the enemy is pacing and he's watching and he's looking at your home. He's studying your home. He's looking. You don't go out on a date no more because you feel like we don't have to go out on a date. We fine. We don't have to have date night. We good. We just gonna stay at home and eat chicken and the kids we're gonna spend time with the kids. You always spend time with the kids. You never spend time with your spouse. You're always doing other things. You're always out with your friends. You're always out with your homies. You never spend time with your wife. The enemy is watching. He's pacing back and forth. He's pacing back and forth. And he is looking for the right opportunity to pounce. That's why you have to be vigilant.
Yes.
You have to be diligent. You have to close every door. You have to watch every door because it says your adversary, the devil, is seeking whom he may devour. He's trying to devour your marriage.
And he's just waiting for an opportunity.
That's all he's trying to do. He's waiting for a door. He's waiting for an opportunity.
And complacency
is the door.
Is in door.
There
are other doors, but complacency is the door.
And you can close it. You can close it. It's very simple. You can close it. But that's what we're talking about when we're saying you become too familiar. You should always keep a freshness in your marriage. We're gonna talk about that next week. We talk
keep it
about
fresh.
you gotta keep it fresh, man. You gotta keep it fresh. You got to keep it fresh because it's important to keep it fresh because you have an adversary out there. You have a devil out there. He's seeking and he's trying to destroy your home.
Awesome word. All I can visualize is I can just see, like you said, that lion.
Right.
When you think about it that way, that should just send shivers down your spine. Like, wow.
Right.
That'll make you think twice about some of these doors that we are leaving open to our marriage.
Right. I was talking to my pastor years ago. We were talking about cheating in marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was ministering to me on just how to close doors and guard doors in your home and don't let certain things in your home and different things like this. He said something to me that was very powerful. He said, at the moment a person cheats, right? And I can't remember the exact terminology, but I'm just going to put it in my words.
Mm-hmm.
He said what happens is they become almost like mentally insane. I'm just using the word insane.
Yeah.
You ever notice like when somebody cheats or something, they don't know how they got in it.
Mm-hmm.
They be like, some people are very aware now.
Yeah.
But sometimes
people are like, how did I
become so detached?
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because it was a little bit at a time. Complacency, a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. You feeling like you don't have to dress up anymore. A little bit at a time. You feeling like you don't need to put on lingerie. A little bit at a time. Husbands, you feeling like you don't need to put on nice clothes, bathe your butt. Just said butt.
Well, you said it now.
Oh, sorry. I didn't even say that on camera.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit at a time. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit at a time. And then before you know it, you end up in a place like, how in the world
did we get here?
Because your adversary, the devil. That's why he tells us in the first verse, he said, be diligent, be vigilant. Be vigilant. Not only, now this can go in any area of life. It can go in your career. It can go with your children. Mm-hmm. It can go with any area. When God gives you something,
you got to guard it.
You got to guard it. You got to cultivate it. You got to cultivate it with your life and speak words of truth and life and different things like that.
Oh,
okay. Next week, we're going to take a test. We're going to take a test next week. I didn't mean to go over my time. We're going to take a test next week. And we're going to find out, are you complacent? Have a 5-question test. And then once we find out where you are, then we'll be able to measure how to go.
Oh, you missed one. You start off at 80.
That's right. We got a 5-question test that we're going to give you on next week. And then we're going to talk about what causes complacency in marriage. And then we're going to talk about how to overcome and how to come out. Amen.
Awesome. All right. See you guys next week. You be blessed.